Tonight's board meeting will begin in approximately 1 minute. Will begin in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Good evening. The special school board meeting for August 25th, 2015 is now in session. Pam, roll call, please.
Mr. Craig?
Present.
Mrs. Belford?
Present.
Mrs. Henderson?
Here.
Mrs. Nisi?
Here.
And Mr. Ziegler?
Present.
Michelle Irwin, Director of Community Relations, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Irwin.
Please stand. It's not here again.
I guess there's one out there.
There is one out here where it looks like it got removed again. Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
Mrs. Nisi and members of the board, on today's agenda, we have administrative staff recommendations, 1 proclamation, 26 consent items, and 4 information items. You also have the yellow supplemental agenda, which are changes made to the agenda since being released to the public. There are revisions to item A5, administrative staff recommendations, 3 consent additions. Item F9 on student expulsions, item F15 on extended the Bluefin HR software system through June 2016, and item F17 on notification of intention to terminate campus charter contract, and 1 consent revision to item F12 on purchasing bids, RFPs, RFQs, and sales and services agreements.
Do I have a motion to adopt the August 25th, 2015 special school board meeting agenda and its revisions?
Move to accept. Second.
Motion was made to approve by Mrs. Henderson, seconded by Mr. Craig. Is there any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Blackburn, let's move on to the administrative staff recommendations.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Nisi and members of the board, under item A5, you have 2 administrative staff recommendations to consider.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion was made to approve by Mrs. Belford, seconded by Mrs. Henderson. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Blackburn.
At this time, I would like to take an opportunity to recognize our newly appointed administrative staff members, and I believe Mrs. Irwin is going to help me do the honor. So first, I'd like to extend congratulations to Keith Schachter on his reclassification and transfer from the position of coordinating teacher at Stone Magnet Middle School to the position of assistant principal at Jackson Middle School.
Thank you, members of the board, and Dr. Blackburn. Welcome again to Brevard. I'd like to take this time to thank my greatest supporters, 2 of which have just left, my beautiful wife and daughter, and my mother, the 3 greatest ladies in my life. So thank you so much. You've meant so much. I'd also like to thank my mentor, Mr. Johnson, who's been instrumental in the development of my career. I'd also like to thank the South Area Leadership Team, Dr. Mark Mullins and Anna Diaz, for their support and throughout my entirety at Stone. And I'd also like to thank Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Trine, the new my principal and assistant principal for curriculum. I can't wait to get started at Andrew Jackson Middle School. Thank you.
Congratulations also to Krista Miller on her reclassification and transfer from the position of assistant principal at Merritt Island High School to the position of principal at Astronaut High School.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and members of the board. I, too, would like to introduce the most supportive people in my life, and that would be my husband, Kyle Miller, my mother and father, Steve and Janet Berriman, and my sister, Stephanie Felker. And also not with me tonight are my children, Kylie and Steven. I also need to thank some very important mentors because I would not be where I am today without them, starting with the North Area Leadership Team, which would be Dr. Reinhardt and DJ Cornell. I want to thank them very much for all of their support, as well as my current principal, Molly Vega, my former principal, who is retired now, Mr. Gary Schifrin, as well as two very important mentors, Bobby Pruitt and Dr. Ken Wen. So I am very excited to be returning to my hometown in Titusville and serving the students and community of Astronaut High School. So thank you very much.
Okay, they're moving into our proclamation, and I believe, Dr. Blackburn, we have a visitor to help us, Ms. Irwin, with that proclamation.
Yes, Mrs. Nisi, tonight you will be asked to adopt a resolution proclaiming the month of September 2015 as Proud to be an American Month. I would like to ask Mrs. Irwin to read the proclamation for us. Mrs. Irwin?
Whereas September affords several opportunities to commemorate the ideals upon which our nation was founded, such as Constitution Day, September 17th, and celebrate Freedom Week, September 21st through 25th. And whereas September 11th, 2015 is the 14th anniversary of the unprecedented terrorist attacks against the United States, resulting in a momentous loss of life and property. And whereas the American spirit and character have prevailed in the face of adversity with courage and conviction, we honor our patriots whose dedication to the establishment of American ideals are reflected in the Declaration of Independence and Constitution. And whereas we remember these patriots with activities and programs that strengthen the appreciation of and dedication to the values of patriotism, trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and good citizenship that constitute the pillars of the American character. Therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Brevard County hereby declares September 2015 proud to be an American month, this 25th day of August 2015.
Okay.
Do you want me to read the next part?
Yeah, go ahead and do the next part
Okay.
before the board votes.
With us tonight is Captain Don Weaver. He is the chairman of the Veterans Resource Center, vice chairman of the Military Officers of America, and chairman of the Vets Back to Class with the Joe Foss Institute. He will be addressing you during the public commentary segment of the board meeting, but I wanted to take a moment to recognize his service to the nation and to our students. Captain Weaver, if you please stand, be recognized.
Okay, motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I didn't catch who the second was from. She can have it. Okay, motion was made to approve by Mr. Ziegler, seconded by Mrs. Belford. Any further discussion? Please vote. Okay, motion carries unanimously. We are now at the public comment portion of tonight's agenda. The maximum allotted time for each speaker is 3 minutes. Clarification of information presented and answers to questions specific to district business and educational matters will be posted on the school board's website under the section called For the Record. Please be reminded that profane, abusive, or slanderous speech is not permitted. I request that you speak into the microphone and state your name. And tonight we have 14 speakers. I will call you up in groups of 3. The first 3 speakers are Dan Weaver, Matt Susan, and Richard Smith.
Thank you to all members of the school board, and thank you for endorsing earlier the concept of Brevard veterans back to the class. My name is Don Weaver. I was a student at Melbourne Elementary School. I can't remember the name. My wife was since she's not here tonight, I can say this, in the first graduating class of Cocoa Beach High School. We are indeed back to Brevard, and after years in the Army and 40 years with government service in the State Department, I'm very pleased to join now a group of veterans who are willing not to ask for anything, but to volunteer to give into your classrooms the chance for the students to understand what it means on American values and American service in all forms, not just veterans, to talk with teachers who are interested, to be able to present a program that will mean something, we hope, especially tied into your proclamation recently approved. We have assembled so far a group of 17. I know John Craig will be number 18 as a MOAC member. Thank you, John. Veterans who are willing to go back into the class, who want to go back into the class, and really work with teachers. We have a program that is designed by Joe Foss. Joe Foss was a recipient of the Medal of Honor, ended up retiring as a Major General, was actually the founder of the American Football League, for you sports fans, one of the founders, became rich in that process, a governor of South Dakota, left in his estate a conscious effort to help veterans go back to the classrooms. When the Joe Foss Institute works with us to provide things, we will leave copies of the Constitution, various other materials for the students to mull over, and really have an impact, not just war stories in the classroom. We'll work with each individual teacher to come up with the right game plan for that class, particularly looking to Freedom Week and the other kind of things that are happening in your school district. We have, of those 17 people, I should tell you that there are 4 who are current part-time college professors. There are 7 who were at teachers as well as veterans. There are a Major General, a retired Rear Admiral in the Coast Guard who happens to be associated with the port, Wayne Justice. We have an Afghanistan veteran who's a junior at the Eastern Florida State College going back to school. He volunteered. So we have everything from a World War II veteran, Major General John Cleland, to everything in between to an Afghanistan veteran. So we hope for support from not just the school board, from all the schools, and believe me, I'll get more than 17 once I see that there's interest in this program. We are committed to the youth of America, and we are committed to everybody remembering only 0.47% of Americans today, less than 1/2% are in uniform. It is incumbent upon us in our generation to pass on those values to those many other Americans who are not. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. We'll do our best.
Cindy, will you make sure that he gets a contact with somebody in the district? Cindy Van Meter is in the back. If she'll make sure that you get a contact in the district so that we can coordinate and you get the information out there. Matt?
Thank you. When I was a teacher for 9 years in social studies, every year there's a thing called Freedom Week that comes up. And during Freedom Week, you're supposed to talk about how our ideals of American Constitution and Bill of Rights are written into the fabric of our lives. The problem is that due to constraints and all kinds of budgetary issues and time, a lot of this falls short. This was a great opportunity to bring in first-hand accounts for each one of the theaters of war, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, coming from people who defended it firsthand in their hands. I wanted to say I was proud to be a part of the project, and I look forward to working with everybody here. Thank you.
Okay, Richard?
Good evening, Board, Superintendent. I want to applaud you on the choices of the administrators I saw. I know the quality of those people. I know that's going to be great. I will enjoy working with them, I'm sure. There's 50 people I won't get a chance to work with. And the reason I won't be able to work with these people is because a faulty evaluation system that has either no or very little checks and balances has deemed them to be unemployable. We have 50 teachers who are so-called unsatisfactory and so-called needs improvement. An example of why I say this system is out of control and is ruining lives is 4 teachers at an elementary school who worked every week together and wrote the exact same lesson plans. 3 of them got the most points you could get in that. 1 of them got the least points. And those least points, the difference was enough to put her in needs improvement. There was a teacher who admittedly was struggling with some issues and through the year worked really hard with the administration and achieved around April a satisfactory, an effective score on evaluation. However, the lack of checks and balances in this evaluation system allowed this administrator to say the following thing. Well, it's true that now you're where you need to be, but for most of the year you haven't been, so I'm going to average that out and your needs improvement. That is not how that system was supposed to be used. It has not been remedied yet. And I could go on. I'm not going to waste your time with just recounting it, but I will tell you that there are 50 people who worked in Brevard County last year that in a period of time when we know we're going to need to be hiring teachers, to go outside of this county to, and pardon my language, but to get a pig in a poke here and get somebody from someplace else when we've got teachers who I think have been unfortunately and unfairly cast as not acceptable by an evaluation system that is in sore need of being fixed. Thank you.
Okay, our next 3 are Richard Charbonneau, Debbie Sandstrom, and Greg Gerard. Thank you for turning that around.
Richard Charbonneau, Satellite Beach. Good evening, Board. Dr. Blackburn, Chairman Nacey. Last week, I sat down and I thought, that I was remiss on something, and so I'm going to make up for it today. Last board meeting, I was remiss in not giving Chairman Nacey credit for calling the FDLE and the Sheriff's Department to investigate if there were any laws broken in the Cross Gates boondoggle. To me, that took courage to go and, call the police and see if anything happened. And I'm sure that you probably didn't, everybody wasn't encouraging what you were doing. I'm going to put it that way. Scott Ellis and I become pretty good friends over the last year, and him and I, we spoke quite a bit about Chairman Nacey, and we came to the conclusion that, maybe she didn't make a great decision on this whole thing. But both of us were 100% positive that she didn't do anything illegal. And the fact that she was willing to bring the police in, which could open up her own personal books. Both of us gave her the credit for having the courage to do that. There may be some people that don't like it, and why they don't like it, I don't know, but we'll see how that shakes out. Now, that being said, if the FDLE and the sheriff find no criminal case, that's not reason to celebrate. That just means that there's no criminal case. That doesn't mean there was nothing wrong done. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there was not a criminal case. It just means there's not enough evidence to bring forth a criminal case. So the fact that if the sheriff and the FDLE gets done with this investigation and they give a clean bill of health, that doesn't mean that you got a clean bill of health. It just means there's not enough to go forward. One other thing I've touched upon, and I had an email to John Craig, and he actually corrected me, and he said that, the board can't hire and fire people, only Dr. Blackburn can. And Dr. Blackburn's a little new, and he's probably just getting his bearings, but I've been saying it all along. This isn't a personal vendetta, but Brevard School Board is the largest corporation in Brevard County. We're bigger than Harris, we're bigger than Lockheed, we're bigger than Grumman. We're bigger than anything else around here. Our current financial officer couldn't get a job at any one of these companies, wouldn't even get in the front door. Our current financial officer wouldn't even get in, Craig, with John's wife, Carol, wouldn't give that person an interview because that person doesn't have financial experience and financial degrees. And we need to move into the modern day and hire a financial person and pay them well. End of conversation. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Debbie Sandstrom. Good evening, board, and hi, Dr. Blackburn. I just wanted to come tonight to welcome you again to Brevard County. We are so blessed to have you here as our leader. When I met you at the BFT leadership meeting at Ocean Ranch, you were so genuine and positive. The only question you asked was, how can we improve teacher morale? Wow, and you took notes. The only thing you asked was time. I saw you again at St. James A&E Church in Titusville. Boy, what a crowd. And some questions, tough questions, that you answered with genuine grace and style. Everywhere I have gone and everyone I have talked to that has met you has had the same optimistic attitude that I have about the positive changes we will be seeing for teachers, students, and parents here in Brevard. We will give you the time you need, that you need and you have asked for. Just keep doing what you're doing, keeping us informed, keeping us smiling with your stories, and keep doing your best. We will then also.
Good evening, Dr. Blackburn and board. My name is Greg Gerard. I'm with principal at Campus Charter, and I'm speaking to the school choice item, notice of intent to terminate a contract with Campus Charter. I think the information that you have so far doesn't reflect anything about the educational aspects of Campus Charter. All I've seen is information that relates to issues beyond our control, which is issues of finance. We do not do finance at our school. We receive finance at our school, and we receive those finances to pay staff and to supply our students with the adequate supplies that they need. What you need to know about Campus Charter is this. Campus Charter is a strong community school. We have a highly qualified, professional, caring, loving staff that is dedicated to the needs of every single student in that school. And it goes beyond that. We're indebted. We are there for the parents of that school as well. We have developed a strong community base. Parents, I believe, if you talk to any one of them, I am sure that they would tell you that that is the best school that their child has been in. I would hate to see that school be taken off the market and eliminated for the people of that community. It provides a valuable service to students, parents, and staff as well. I don't know how to plead with you about that. It bothers me that we're only talking about issues of finance, wrongdoing. There is no wrongdoing at our school. We are a school of integrity. We are a school of people who believe in one another. We are family, and I don't want to see that family structure ruined.
Okay, our next three speakers, Naomi Barnacow, Jennifer Scosia, and Teresa Vernon.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for letting me have this time. I apologize that I'm not as organized as I'd like to be. I just found out of the decision today that was made by the school board, and I only found out about the meeting 2 hours ago. So I'm going to do my best. I'm here representing my daughter, Shelby. She's 12. She's a 7th grader with Florida Virtual School. So we are a homeschooling family, and we are based in Rockledge. She is a swimmer and was very interested in swimming. At 7th grade, the school of choice that Brevard County offers allows her to transfer to Cocoa to be part of the high school swim team since they are junior, senior high school. So back in August, I called here and talked to people and got the appropriate forms. I was told which route I needed to take. I have paperwork I had to get notarized. We had to have physicals. We did everything that we needed to do, and in a timely manner and timely fashion. So we got the approval that she can now swim for Cocoa, that she transferred. And we just found out today, a week and a half after she's been swimming with the team, that there was a mistake and she was taken out of the team. So that was a pretty emotional team visit. She went to tell everybody today, and the coaches and the team were very upset. She's already invested, a week and a half in. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it is when you're 12. So what I'm here to ask is for a reversal of the decision that was made. I have a list of the names of the people that I spoke to, of the signatures that I have, and I understand that there was a mistake made and that Cocoa has been a closed school since January. Back in August, when I came here and got the correct paperwork and was given my list of places I needed to go and things I needed to do, I was never told that. We would have never started doing that if it was already a closed school. So pretty much what I'm asking is just that you take into consideration a team, Shelby's feelings, accountability and responsibility, things that we try to teach our children. And I understand a mistake was made. I do, believe me, I understand. And so being the fact that she is a homeschooler and is not going to occupy any seats in Cocoa or take any time from the teachers or anything, and that she would just be part of the swim team, which is only a month and a half long out of, a school year, I would just ask that you would all see if that's something that you would agree upon, is that you'd give her a chance to swim for Cocoa. Thank you.
Dr. Blackburn? It looks like you have a question.
I do. I'd like to give a senior staff member an opportunity to speak with this parent. Who can I send her back to? Okay, if you can go talk to Dr. Theddy in the back.
I appreciate all your time. Thank you so much.
Well, and then the board is going to want to have an answer to this because, okay. Okay, so then the next person, Jennifer? Okay.
Good evening, board. Good evening, families. I'm here to respectfully request to continue to have Campus Charter School open. I've been there for 6 years. I'm their ESE teacher and GSP teacher. But more than that, I'm there to teach every child there, and they know that. And I wasn't going to speak, and I'm very emotional right now because I care very deeply about these kids. And some of their parents are going to speak to you as well. But I can tell you, we provide a very high level of education, and we are a family. We co-teach. Sometimes we're there till 7 o'clock at night helping each other, making sure we're ready for the next day, making sure we're providing really great technology and engaging lessons. And we're just really proud to be there, but we need to stay open. I'm on the car loop every morning. There's 160 students that come to us with their families. And there's 160 students that this morning, they didn't know what was going on, and there was news people there. And it's just, I don't know, I just am going to respectfully request that we can resolve this in a professional manner, and that we can maybe open our doors to you. Anybody that's come to our school from Brevard County, they love our school. Your staffers love our school, your ESE, your behavioral analysts. We work as a team, and they always say, you guys are awesome. And we take pride in that, because we do. We want to serve your community. We serve the same students. So they come to us, and they go out in the world. And I'm also a parent of Brevard County. I have 2 children that did graduate from here and are now going to be graduating from college. But my point is that the ESC with the exceptional needs, the students we work with, they came to us for a reason. We're called a school of choice, and the parents will tell you, I deeply care about it, and I really am going to request respectfully that everything is resolved in a professional manner. So I wasn't even going to speak tonight, but then when I saw some of our students and some of our families, I felt like I really was, it's what I have to do for our children. So if I can answer any questions, please let me know. I'm sorry I'm so nervous. I'll tell you that. But like I said, we welcome our doors to you. Come see our school, come visit us, because I don't know who's going to be able to tell these students and these families anything bad news. I just found out about this yesterday, and I have no idea how this even occurred. But I do know that we are a very strong faculty, family, staff. Our families are very, very hardworking, and they need us. They need us, and they need your help too. And I look at some smiling faces, some people I know, and everything like that. And like I said, I also teach the gifted program there, so I do a lot of the STEM technology. I've worked at Kennedy Space Center for 14 years. I'm now in education department for them, so I take my job very seriously as well, and so that population also. But all I know is the kids, when they come visit me, they say, we were there for all of us. I don't like labels. You know, we're there for every kid. So also I just want to say on behalf of some of our parents also have family, children that attend our school. They couldn't sleep last night. Our teachers should not have to come to school and be so sad, because we're there every day and we're so happy.
I'm sorry,
You know?
your time is up.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Board, and Dr. Blackburn, welcome to Brevard County School Board System. My name is Teresa Vernon, and I'm a member of Campus Charter Schools Board. I was very shocked to hear and see the letter that you plan to terminate, or you're in process of wanting to terminate Campus Charter School. I was shocked. When you did the audit of the school, they had great things to say about the school. The people who came in, that you chose to come in and visit the school and audit it just a few months ago, it seems like. I would like to assure this board that Campus Charter staff and board members will be fully transparent to you of anything that you would need to ask for. I haven't, as this point, been questioned about anything or talked to about this process. I know that our attorney has been in touch with your counsel and has assured our pledge of cooperation. If there's a document that hasn't been produced for you, we'll do our best to produce it for you. I'm not sure what it is that's missing, but we'll work towards that. I can assure you that the members of the Board of Directors want to be good citizens, and if changes need to be made in the operation of the school and our interface with the district, they will be made to assure these problems don't happen again. My greatest fear, or our greatest fear, the people of Campus Charter School, is the fact that it reflects negatively on the staff there, the parents there, the administration, the board members that you are looking at to close their doors. We don't want to work as hard as we do to be undermined, and I feel to a degree that we have been. I just wish that somebody would talk to myself as a board member and ask me some questions before this came up like it did, and I found out this morning myself. I appreciate you letting me say what I need to say and your time, and I hope we can help you as board.
Okay, our next three speakers, Kinley Nagel, Erica Nichols, Thomas White.
Thank you. Thank you, school board, audience. I always enjoy coming here. My name is Kinley Nagel. I'm a certified special ed teacher, and I love to share my work. It's beautiful. My work states that most people understand. I've spoken to most of these people week after week, is that our children aren't born with learning disabilities. Our environment is causing our children such anxiety, such fear. It leads to learning disabilities, mental illness, violence that we see in our schools. We as a society have to find our courage. And I plead every week. I come here, not every week, twice monthly, and I plead and I ask, where can you find the strength? Where can you find the courage, the love, and the passion to stand up and take a chance and make a stand for our children? When we have adults bullying adults and we don't talk about it because we're too afraid, our children instinctually know to be afraid. I'm not here pointing fingers. I'm here to protect our children. People are benefiting from our children's situation. We have to stop labeling our children ADHD, bipolar, dyslexic, autistic. That's not the case. They aren't born like that. It's our society. We have to be educated, and that's why I'm here. People have to stand up and take a stand and find in their hearts, because this isn't going to get better. The things that are going on are so unspeakable. We need to take a stand with me, and I'm taking a stand now. I plead to have the school board hire me. I've volunteered my services. I've had huge success in the classrooms. These kids do not have to be failing. We cannot let them continue to feel so badly and self-destructive. It's a shame. Thank you for listening.
Erica?
Hello, good evening. I'm here as a parent of a child that goes to Campus Charter. He does have ESC needs, and we choose to bring my child to this school. We drive from the edge of Titusville down to Port St. John because we were welcomed. My child doesn't have anxiety about going to school in the morning, nosebleeds, crying fits, tantrums. This is a school where he's been welcomed, loved, he's thriving, he's learning. I can't fathom why you would want to take that away from a community. It's, you know, our kids. I've been amongst 2 other schools in Brevard County with my child, and none of which have got that much warmth and caring and compassion anywhere. It's just, you got to keep this school open. It does great things for our community. Thank you.
Thomas White?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and Dr. Blackburn. My name's Tom White. You probably recognize the name already. I am the chairman of the board for Campus Charter School.
Can you make sure to talk into the microphone? Thank you.
Can I lift it up? Okay. I'm going to be brief, but I am going to give you a little background so that you know who I am and what I know. I am a CPA. Okay, the report that was presented by McGladrey, this one in particular, I do know how to read it, and I am familiar with a lot of the terms that are in there, okay? But nothing is as they really seem to be. There's always issues that pop up. The issues that are sitting here are going to be addressed by the board. I'm going to make sure of that. If there's documentation that needs to come to the auditors, which actually they are not auditors, these are agreed upon procedure if you want to use some of the terminology in my industry. I will make sure that whatever they are requesting, I will get it to them. Some of the answers they may get, they will probably agree with when the information is provided. Others they may not. So be it. Okay? We're not small enough to say that we're perfect, because we are not. Okay? We are just simply trying to provide an educational environment for the kids in this community. And we are doing that. Maybe there's some fiscal issues that we need to deal with or financial issues. We'll deal with those. And we're willing to do that. And we're willing to stand up and say, hey, we were wrong if we were wrong. But if there are issues that can be remedied, okay, we'll listen. We have no problem with listening, and we'll do what we need to do to keep this school open. To prematurely shut the school down or change the charter is basically that, in my opinion. It's premature. All the facts really are not out right now, but they will be. Again, may not be what you want, may not be what you like, but they will be the truth. I will assure you of that. Thank you.
And our last two speakers are Amanda Gobert and Jessica Lawson. It's up to you.
I am a campus charter first-time parent. My kindergarten started school last Monday, and walking into the doors for the first time to drop my baby girl off to Miss Tripp's class was the hardest thing to do, but she has thrived. She is excited to go every morning. She knows her routine and where to be. Everybody already knows our face and our name, and it's only been 5 days, 7 days, today's Tuesday. But after just a week, they know us and we know them. We know everyone's name. They know all of us. We know all the students, and the parents know us in the car loop. We know everybody. And to have to go through that whole process all over again is got to be devastating for me and for my child. Being a kindergartner for the first time, walking into this giant classroom, this school is I like to call it petite because it's so quaint and everybody gets to know everybody so quickly because there's not a lot of people there. And it's been important in my life. I mean, it's only been 7 days and I have completely fallen in love.
Hi, I'm Amanda Gobert. I'm speaking on behalf of my first grader who goes to Campus Charter. He has been at Campus Charter since VPK. He went into the school with not much knowledge of anything. He was home with me. He knew his ABCs and his colors, but from there, he wasn't, he was an average child. He is now currently on a second grade reading level. He is excelling in math. He is a very intelligent little boy, and he has a lot of behavior issues that we have been dealing with. I'm scared if he goes into a public school, they're going to shun him and kick him out. And being a campus charter, they have loved on him. They have taken my place when I couldn't be there. They have become his family and his mother, and he loves that school. I would hate to pull him out and have him either get suspended, expelled, or have his grades dramatically decline because of the change. He doesn't adapt well to change. I am begging you to give them another chance for the sake of all of our children. This isn't about us, and it isn't about everything. It's about these children. Like the woman said before, we've got to be here and we have to stand up for our kids, and that's what I'm doing tonight, is standing up for my son. So please, look at the parents and how we feel, and we'll deal with everything else later. Just don't do this to the kids. Thank you.
Board member comments? I know, Andy, you wanted to.
I wanted to speak to the choice sports option as far as swimming at Cocoa High. I'm kind of a little bit embarrassed. This is a very important topic to me, and I don't recall the statute or the FHSAA rules on homeschool students, but in the case of charter school students who do not have a particular sport at their school do have the option of participating at a public school. Private schools is a little bit different, and I've been advocating that in the case of our choice schools like Edgewood and West Shore, we should be allowing the same. But unfortunately, the FHSAA doesn't allow that. If we violate FHSAA rules and regs, we put the entire district at risk for FHSAA affiliation. I personally believe that the statutes around this support allowing choice students to participate. I don't recall where it is with homeschool, and it's not a matter of whether we really want to or not. It's a matter of what the FHSAA rules and regs state or state statute. And
Yeah,
it's something that FHSAA is working on.
I don't know if they were homeschool, they said virtual school. Keep in mind, if they're in virtual school, they're still a public school.
And I don't know where that falls in their
When my son
rules
was
and regs.
virtual school, he was a public school student.
Then, well, if FLVS is treated like a charter, they would be able to participate. If it's treated as a public school student, then they would not be able to
They're
participate.
treated as a choice school.
Then they should be able to participate. So,
But I think what she was saying is the reason not was because the school was closed, even though that person is not there taking up a seat because they're virtual. That, to me, is sort of different.
Yeah.
what do you mean the school is closed?
Closed to incoming, closed to outgoing.
That sports is irrelevant to that when it comes to.
I think that's the
choice.
point. I think that's the mistake that we're talking about, so hopefully we'll get to the
So hopefully
bottom of
that could be rectified. I personally think, and I'm sure the board members agree, that all students should have an opportunity to play sports in their life, and I'm sure we'll do whatever we can within the rules to allow that to happen, but right now, we have to follow the rules very strictly.
Right, and I think that we all need to know, this is the first that any of us have even heard of it. In fact, she just heard about it too, so we don't know anything about it, so I would like to get more information. I'm sure Dr. Blackburn will fill us in when he gets the information.
I would also encourage all the campus charter people to stay. We'll be talking about the item coming up very soon. There'll be a lot of information that wasn't in the paper. There's a lot of information that goes into that, so I'm assuming you're here to hear that, so please know we're going to be addressing a lot of that item, a lot of information on that. Anything else at the board members? Yes, Mr. Craig.
I just want to thank Captain Weaver. Thank you for being here, and thank you for leading this effort. I think it's phenomenal. I'm familiar with the FOSS program, and I'm so glad it's here. So looking forward to participate myself, but thank you.
Yes, sorry, I got caught up in all the campus charter things. Yes, thank you very much for being here, and Matt for bringing this to our attention. Okay, the board wishes to thank this evening's speakers. Your willingness to speak to the board is greatly appreciated. That moves us into the consent agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
There are 26 agenda items under this category, one with prior information.
Okay, I know I already plan to pull the campus charter item because I know I've already talked to Mrs. Archer, and we've got several questions that she and I have already prepared to present to the board, but outside of that one, are there any other of the consent items board members wish to pull? F12, purchasing bids. Okay, so Pam, if you'll pull, is there a particular? All purchasing bids or just one in particular? All. It's a general comment. Oh, okay. So please pull F12 and I think it was F17. Okay, do I have a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda except for those two?
Move to approve.
Second.
Oh, who was the second? Okay, motion was made to approve by Mr. Ziegler. Let's make it a guy thing. And seconded by Mr. Craig. Is there any? Well, and I got Dr. Blackburn to laugh. Is there any further discussion? See if I can get him to laugh at least once during the meeting. I have accomplished something. Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Why don't we go to yours first, Misty, because the other one's going to take a while.
As you all probably saw, I had submitted some questions yesterday on a couple of the technology RFPs asking about the date of the contract renewal as well as the amount of the contract renewal and how it compared to the previous year's contract. And Mr. Budo was wonderful to respond to me on those issues and answer all of those questions, but I just wanted to put a general comment out there that I think it is helpful to us, especially if we are dealing with a contract extension or, you know, a new contract extending an existing contract or extending that relationship, that we be provided that information on how does this compare to what we have done the year before, because a lot of times we don't necessarily if we have the contract, it's not necessarily compared to other organizations, so the price doesn't mean a lot necessarily. But if we saw that, for example, in the Blackboard contract, we had significant savings over previous year on that contract, but that's not something that we would have known unless that was provided with the information on the consent agenda item. So my request is, if that information is available, to please make sure that that is provided to the board members when preparing the agenda items. And that's it.
Okay. Well, and Dr. Blackburn, I know at the last board meeting, I asked that staff take a look at breaking out the RFPs by different dollar amounts. I thought the suggestion by one of our speakers at the last meeting was a good idea. Do you know when we'll be having that opportunity to see that?
I don't have a definite timeline on that, but that is under consideration to be brought back to the board.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so do you have a move to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion, oh, now we go to the ladies' side. Okay, motion was made to approve by Mrs. Belford, seconded by Mrs. Henderson. Any further discussion? Okay, it's like the battle of the sexes tonight. Okay. Do you need a voice vote, Pam? You sure? Okay, there it is. Just checking. Oh, wow. See, this will be the other advantage of breaking them out. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Mrs. Archer, would you mind coming down? I know you and I had talked earlier that we're going to talk a lot tonight about F-17, which is the notification of intention to terminate campus charter contract. Well, and as I was talking with her today, and also talking with other people, I was feeling quite old today when I realized that I was the only person sitting up here besides Mr. Beislein who was on the board the last time we did this. So the last time, it was back in 2009. Didn't you join the board in 2010? Oh, you were 2008?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys were, okay, good. I'm not feeling so old then. Okay.
Great, make us old too.
Okay, now I'm not feeling so old. Okay. Whew. Okay, the gray hairs can go away then. I'll let her get her thoughts together. Okay. Okay, notification of intent to terminate. This is, first off, this letter is an intent that if matters are not resolved in 90 days, then the charter will be dissolved. We would first explain what this intention to terminate campus charter contract means if the board were to vote to do this tonight. Let's first start with that question.
Well, let's start with first, this was not an easy decision.
Correct.
This is not something we take lightly. I understand where the parents and the staff are coming from completely. However, they have due responsibilities to the public to monitor their finances, et cetera. That's part of their accountability. So the notice to terminate was decided upon based on the McGladrey audit that identified some very problematic areas. With that information, then, we give them notice to terminate, but they also have the ability to respond and request an informal hearing 14 days into that letter. And then that formal hearing would be their governing board and their key people, our school board, and a discussion about what has come to light and what actions we need to take to either rectify it and or terminate their contract.
So just for you to take a breath there. So a couple of our speakers tonight indicated that they wanted a chance to produce documents or have conversations about that. That is what that hearing will give them the opportunity to do, correct?
Yes, but I will tell you that McGladrey has made many attempts to get those documents that have been unresponsive. I mean, if you will allow me
And
this
that's what I wanted to
timeline.
give the opportunity. Would you explain everything that you've asked for and who you've asked that of?
Yes.
And the many documents and things over the past several months?
Correct.
This include a timeline?
Yes, this
Okay,
will be just a timeline of the communications with McGladrey. I have an entire folder of the emails that have gone back and forth between McGladrey and Mr. White himself, being responded to by Chris Glatz, which is the management company and not the governing board. And we had to, McGladrey had to travel down to the management company's facilities in order to get some of the documents. But let me just outline the timeline. Originally, the school was notified on 8/14 that we needed to conduct an audit. That audit conduction was based on some tips that had come into my office where there was perhaps some issues in their fiscal management. McGladrey went to the school on 8/5 and was turned away. They submitted a document.
Okay, wait a minute, second. Your dates didn't match there. You said
They notified the school on 8/4 that they were
okay,
coming.
you said 8/14. You said 8/14.
I'm sorry, I do apologize, I misspoke. They went to the school 8/5, and they were turned away from the management company. They were requested by Mr. Glatz to submit a list of the documents they wanted to see on 8/5. They rescheduled a visit per Mr. Glatz on 8/12. They went to meet with him, but he said he was too busy to meet with them because he was undergoing the audit with his own auditors, Berman Hopkins, at the time. And then he asked that we request information from Berman Hopkins at 8/12 because they were supposedly had custody of these documents, which they in turn responded that they did not.
Sorry, when you say they, is that Berman Hopkins?
Berman Hopkins, let me clarify, I do apologize. So on 8/17, Mr. Glatz further requested information stating that that Berman Hopkins should have had that, and they rescheduled a visit on 8/19. Sorry, I couldn't read my own messy handwriting. They went to visit on 8/19. They were given an hour. There was the management company could not produce the documents. After waiting an hour, the staff left. And they had asked for follow-up questions on 8/19 and 8/20, and there was no response, and they had a deadline to meet. All throughout this communication, McGladrey was very clear that they had a deadline that they had to meet for the purposes of this audit. So the audit that sits before you, and you can see that in their comments, lists the look-fors that we asked them to go ahead and look into. That was the issuance of a loan with using school funds, the availability of cash on hand for payroll and payables.
Can you stop for a minute? I want to talk about each one of those items.
Okay.
When you talk about the loan, would you explain so everyone understands what happened with taxpayer dollars there?
The governing board of campus made a $24,000 loan to the Campus Development Research School, which is Mr. Glatz's additional business. He again owns the management company that the governing board hired. Because we cannot get the documents that we need, we suspect that it appears to be non-compliant with Red Book requirements. And again, we say suspect because we've not been given the documents to do a full determination that this it violates Red Book.
So can you explain how that might look from a school? So that what would that be in terms of one of our schools? What would that be?
It would look like one of our schools taking public funds and loaning it to a private company for their benefit.
Okay.
And it's a non-interest-bearing loan, so it's not like the school is going to make any money on the return. Again, they were to have made $500 payments for this loan, and the balance receivable currently was $19,000. So again, this is all in the audit, but McGladrey has repeatedly said they cannot make a final determination because the documents they have repeatedly requested have not been supplied.
Well, I'm doing this because I want the people here and the people watching to understand that they took taxpayer dollars.
Correct.
And loaned them to a private company.
Correct.
Dollars that should have gone to either payroll possibly or the educating of children to a private company. Okay. Go to
And
the
that's
next
how
one.
it appears.
And that's what it appears.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
next
Madam
item.
Chair, that's suspected though, right? We don't, because we
Okay.
don't have any proof because I'm just bringing that out. I mean, we can't state that as fact.
Right. Okay, next item.
So then we have the availability of cash for payroll and accounting. And so they looked into that. Now, they only have documents up to June 30th because, again, they've asked for additional documents that have not been received. So they have current payables and a negative cash position, a net loss position. They have a payroll account that has a negative on their ledger, and they have a payroll bank account that has been overdrawn. So we're not sure what has happened here because there's no clarification of how this shortfall occurred or how they were able to pay their employees maybe out of a different account because, again, those documents have not been provided to McGladrey.
Okay, so stop for a minute. After each one, I just want to see if board members have questions.
What were the dates that everything was negative?
June 30th.
So June 30th, do we have any July numbers?
No, ma'am, we do not. Their Julys are not due. I will tell you, they have not submitted their monthlies for June. So we couldn't even, we've asked for this repeatedly. We've asked for them to respond to comments and concerns that we've had with their other financial reports to us, and we are getting no response.
Okay.
Okay?
I have one.
Yes.
And Ms. Archer, can you just, this is not specific to any, I mean, this is how we interact with all charter
Yes, sir.
schools. I mean,
Yes,
this
sir.
is a responsibility of the school district and of your office
Yes, sir.
to do this continually, to, not do this to, but to work with every charter company to ensure that they're following the procedures that the state makes sure that
Correct.
we're entrusting them to do, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so the concern is we have no proof that they have the ability to make payroll right now.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So that's worrisome, because that will throw them into an immediate financial emergency, which will then again trigger the potential for a closure. I do want to just let you know, Mr. Craig, into your response, the principles and standards of charter school authorizing, the things that the charter school operators and authorizers are accounted to. We need to hold schools accountable for fulfilling fundamental obligations to the public, which includes providing sound governance, management, and stewardship of public funds.
Next item.
Next item is the nature and the allowability of the administrative expenses, and that is a line item in their budget that we couldn't figure out where on earth they got a total number of $142,000. And so based on what McGladrey thinks they have, they might have some rationale for that expenditure. However, they've asked for payroll reporting, which again was not provided to confirm that indeed that's what it was being paid for. So again, you can see all these missing documents that we've repeatedly asked for are not being given to us. We would possibly not have gone this route had we had these documents, because then perhaps the auditing team would not have found these concerning issues.
So the 142,000 is what kind of
Is
line?
administrative expenses. We believe that it is the administration and the 2 administration assistant salaries, but we cannot confirm that without payroll documentation.
Okay.
So that may very well be on the up and up, but right now it's an open issue because that information is not being shared.
Okay, next item.
The next item which came up is the governance of the school board in conjunction with their bylaws. They're required to have 6 meetings a year. They've had 4. One of the other concerns is that campus will cancel their meetings, reschedule them without public notification, therefore conducting business outside the sunshine. This is not something that is taken lightly. Just like you conduct business in the sunshine, all our charter governing boards are to do that, but they're not meeting their contractual or their bylaw obligations by not having their set number of meetings. And the last one is a related party transaction. And again, as of 2008, there is a current loan that has Campus Charter listed as the guarantor. The loan is to the, again, the Campus Development Research School, which is the facility that they rent for their school. They pay rent on that, and yet they're the guarantor of that loan. So if it's defaulted, then it could be that the school owes on that loan. It could also be a document that just indicates future lease payments. But that information has not been provided to us again, so we cannot determine which is it. I mean, there are complete extremes there, from simple thing that we are guaranteeing that you have set number of future payments, you have an agreement, you're going to rent from us for 10 years, or are you a guarantor on the actual loan itself? So if we default, the school's held accountable for payment. And we need that documentation. We don't have it.
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify, Ms. Archer. So this is a different loan than the initial loan that was referenced. So this
Yes,
is in addition to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
So you can see that and I hate to be so blunt, but they say they're transparent. They say they will get us the documents. We've repeatedly asked for that. I've asked for public records requests. I've gotten portions of those public records requests. So again, that transparency is questionable.
Well, and it's not, and I guess just to be clear, it's not that you just started this on August 4th.
No, ma'am.
Because just from what you said tonight, some people might say that you just started this on August 4th.
No.
How long have you been asking for some of these documents?
Well, with the charter school contract, they owe the school district certain documents throughout the school year, i.e. their monthly financials are to come to us. And sometimes there are questions that we ask of them or corrections they need to make or resubmissions. This is standard practice for all of our charter schools. And so we have given that. For 4 months straight, we have asked for a response on some of their financials that have been submitted to us, and that has been fallen on deaf ears. We're not getting what we need to clarify, is there a problem or is there not a problem? Have you corrected it? You know, what's going on? How can we help you? In addition to that, there are other documents that they're supposed to submit. Simple things like certificate of occupancy when they first open, and then they just indicate that they have that throughout the rest of their duration in that facility. There's just a list of things that are in their contract that I'll be happy to share that they have not fulfilled in a full year. We use a tool called Charter Tools where they can upload those documents. It's time, date, stamped, so it assures that indeed they got it in on time. We have it. It archives it, so if we ever need that document again, it's there. We are currently in a disagreement as to whether or not we should be able to use that, but the other charters are submitting it hard copy. We don't even have hard copy of the documents they're to provide to us. So this has been going on slowly but surely for almost a year. Certainly that aspect of the contract violation is not enough to warrant a school closure, but coupled with the violation of law with public records, with Sunshine, and with these audit findings, it certainly begets a very tough decision.
Do we have their audit, the one that they did, the Berman Hopkins?
No, ma'am, those are not due to us till August 31st.
Okay.
So, and if you go back to the loan, it's never been disclosed in their financials. That guarantor portion of the loan has not been disclosed in their annual audits, and it's been there since 2008.
Isn't that supposed to be?
Should be.
Okay. Yes.
Ms. Archer, is there a threshold that is designated by the state for issuance of a 90-day letter? Meaning, is there a checklist? Is there something that the state says, if you meet these things or these concerns, then you must produce a 90-day intent letter? Or is it left to the subjectivity or the I wouldn't say strike that, not so, the discretion, thank you, the discretion of the controlling agency, which would be our school district?
There are certain things that are statutorily written out, financials, any kind of financial emergency, student achievement, violation of law, and then there's a whole litany of good cause purposes that you could null and void a contract or decide even not to renew. So it's not usually just one thing, with the exception of safety and welfare of students. If it becomes an emergency standard where the building's falling down around the kids' ears, then you would immediately shut them down without a termination letter. But this is a case of there are numerous things, numerous infractions that have brought us to this point.
Harold, do you have anything you want to add?
I think Stephanie's given you a very good summary and to answer Mr. Craig's question, there are certain financial issues that are serious enough to require immediate notification to the Commissioner of Education and corrective action plans and those types of things. But what I think that the biggest problems that I hear here are some of these loans and with the public money, which I don't see any way to justify that. And also the fact that we haven't been getting the information that is required by the contract is very distressing as well.
Well, and if I may add, campus has a contract with a governing board that they need to keep at arm's length. that that's not what they're doing statutorily.
Can you,
The governing board is the oversight of campus charter. Everything and anything that they do is to go through the governing board as it does the school board here. Very often our schools do have agreements, they're educational services provider agreements with management companies to do back office things, marketing, educational development, finances, things like that, that, you know, a principal may not have time to do or is an expert at, because they're about instructional leadership. However, in this case, it appears that the governing or the management company has rules of the school.
I would concur with what Stephanie's saying there.
okay, any other questions from the board? Yes. Start down here. Dr. Blackburn, you want to weigh in?
Mrs. Nisi and board members and the public, I think this is where governance gets really, really difficult, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'll start with children. Mm-hmm. There are children in that school who are expecting that the adults that are their caregivers are all doing the right thing. There are teachers and other staff members in that school who are expecting that we're all doing the right thing. And for these assertions to be out there, and I agree with counsel, one of the most disturbing things for me, apart from the assertions, is the non-responsiveness portion of this conversation. I would have great concerns with an employee or employees that I supervised not being responsive to questions being asked by very appropriate authority. So those are my thoughts, and my heart really goes out to the kids in this equation.
We'll just go down the line here. Misty?
I would second much of what Dr. Blackburn said. The lack of responsiveness is very concerning to me, and although I'm thrilled to hear Mr. White come in this evening and say that he is more than willing to produce all of those things, I think that we haven't gotten here by accident, and we haven't gotten here without a lot of effort to stop us from getting here on behalf of Ms. Archer and her team. So to the parents and the students and the teachers of charter, I would say to you that the last thing that we want to do is take your school away from you, but we need for your school to do the right thing. And so this letter is an opportunity for the leadership of your school to do the right thing and assure us that they're doing the right thing by you. And my hope is that this letter will be a motivation for those people in leadership at the school to do that right thing and to fulfill their obligation to the taxpayers and to the state of Florida and make sure that that school is still there for those students. But I do think that at this point, we are where we are for a reason, and we need to move forward with hopes of it turning around.
Exactly. This is not a definitive decision. This is basically giving the opportunity to correct what needs to be corrected. I'm going to throw in that I take a lot of comfort in the fact that you have Tom White helping you out. I've known him for a long time. He's a man of high integrity, and I suspect that this is more of an issue of management company keeping things under wraps from the school and from the board. So I'm optimistic that this will all get sorted out. I just hope the financial situation is not as dire as suspected, because that can be more difficult to resolve. It will not be the first charter school in dire financial situation, and it will not be, and just to let you know, there have been some in some very severe financial situations that have been bailed out in the ninth hour by a philanthropist and kept alive. So just because there is a financial issue, there might be a solution to that too, but that's all on the board and the campus charter. That is not something we can do, but our staff will work with you through all of that, and I'm optimistic that you have the right leadership to figure it out.
You have any comments?
Yes. I agree with what Dr. Blackburn and Misty and Mr. Ziegler all said, but it seems to me that the ball is in campus charter's court. and that somebody from Campus Charter needs to step up to the plate and provide the documents, because without it, we're left wondering. And it's not fair. If I was a teacher at that school and hearing that, I'd be going, oh my goodness, am I going to get paid? And so somebody owes everybody in your community an answer, and that would be the charter company and the board. And so I'm hoping that there will be some sort of information giving here ASAP. So I see the letter is going out, is for tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
They have 14 days to request an informal.
Yes, ma'am.
Which would be meeting with us and telling us, and basically in that 14 days, do they request the meeting, and then would they meet with us and bring us all this information, or tell us what they're going to do and when they're going to do it?
Well, because we've requested this information repeatedly, they do have a list, and that list went to Mr. White, and so I would appreciate it if we would have that documentation ASAP, so that then McGladrey could continue to do that comparative audit and decide whether or not these findings are true and factual, or only based on partial information and how it looks at this time. I think if you wait till that 14 days, that doesn't give McGladrey that opportunity. There's also some other public records that I need to have that would give us additional insight.
So there is a sense of urgency.
Yes, ma'am.
For Campus Charter to give us this information ASAP.
Yes, ma'am.
Because none of us up here want to close the school. That is not the goal of this district or anybody on this board. So, but somebody needs to step up and answer these questions, because you're making it very difficult for us to see the bigger picture, and we need to be able to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, John, you want to add anything?
Just real quick, for the parents that stood up and talked, I appreciate your passion. Thank you for advocating for your children. And what everyone has said here hopefully has resonated with you, that we are not, we don't want to close anything. Trust me on that, in more ways than one. This board is, we are being transparent to exactly what needs to happen in order for the school to stay open. I applaud the fact that you have your chair and one of your board members here. I challenge them as the leadership to go to this management company and make things right immediately. We're here to support you. If you need help, tell us what help you need, and we will help you. Ms. Archer's team does a very good job working with all of our charter schools, but it is our constitutional directive to make sure that when the taxpayer money that comes through this organization and is delivered to this organization is utilized correctly and in accordance with the statutes that the state provides. And that's our responsibility. And we take it very seriously. So I'm confident that you have some leadership here that is going to make that happen.
And I would just add that I agree with everything that was said, and I would say the same thing for those people here, to go back and tell the people that weren't here that the things you said tonight you need to say to your board and to the management company, that you know what it is, you know what they need to provide for us to stop this process. You know, it's not the educational things that are going on. It sounds like you have the school you want. It sounds like wonderful things are going on. You need them to take care of these things to keep that happening. So I appreciate you coming here tonight. Okay, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion was made to approve by Mrs. Belford, seconded by Mrs. Henderson. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, do we need a break, or do you want to continue? Okay, let's continue. Thank you, Mrs. Archer. I know that you had to fly back from literally, well, I say fly, drive very quickly without breaking the law from your other meetings to be here for this, so thank you. Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to, sorry. Okay, so no break. So we are back in session. There are no action items. That moves us to the information agenda. The information agenda includes items for board review and will be brought back for action at a subsequent meeting. No action will be taken on these items tonight. Dr. Blackburn.
Yes, ma'am. There are 4 items under the information category.
Okay, does any board member wish to discuss anything on the information agenda? Really? Yes. Okay. There are no additional public presentations. We're now at board member reports and discussion points. As you can see, we added a late discussion point, and so I'm going to go to that first. And John, you were the one that sent out an email requesting this one, so I'm going to start with you and ask you to speak to this.
Okay, thanks. Can you turn that on real quick?
Of course.
Thank you. So at the last board member meeting, I brought up this best and brightest, I use that term loosely, teacher pay incentive that was signed into law as part of the 15-16 Florida budget. And I recommended that we as a board address it in some way. I sent out a letter this afternoon. I'm going to read it real quick because it's not real long. As part of the public record, I'd like the board then to give some feedback if it's the right direction that we want to go. But my intent is that we have something on paper to sign at the budget hearing on the 3rd, since that is our next public meeting, and we certainly can add that to it. I think it's of time importance that we get this moving and get some feet behind it. So this is to Governor Scott as duly elected constitutional officers of the Brevard County School Board. We collectively oppose the best and brightest teacher pay incentive signed into law as part of the 2015-16 Florida budget and urge you to line item veto it immediately. While we agree teacher pay in Florida continues to negatively affect the ability to attract and retain quality instructional providers for our K-12 children, we believe this method is illogical and does not serve the stakeholders of Florida Public Schools. We offer the following bullet points in supporting our call for rescinding this measure. First, the varying age and tenure of our teachers creates barriers to actually collecting SAT or ACT information from the testing companies. Archives can provide scores at a cost to the individual, but the companies did not actually start providing national percentile comparisons until the 1990s. Teachers who can't provide that information are excluded from the provision. The ACT, secondly, the ACT and SAT were designed to measure, quoting from their website, aptitude and innate mental ability. They were not used as a predictor of future success or of subject mastery. To use these tests 10 to 30 years later as litmus for added pay is illogical and is not supported by the testing company's own claims. Third, the tests have matured and changed radically over the past 30 years. There is no linear comparison between SAT or ACT tests of the 1980s and ones given in the past 15 years. The state cannot effectively compare test scores from the different decades as the content and focus of the tests changed several times. We recommend using the $44 million set aside for Best and Brightest Awards to be used to defray costs of teacher pursuit of national board certification. Encouraging teachers to seek this widely recognized certificate of teaching excellence will benefit our students directly and provide districts with teachers who meet the highest levels of current teaching methodologies. Thank you for advocating for the students of Florida. Our schools are the backbone of our communities and critical to continued economic development of our state. Please help us cultivate and retain the actual best and brightest by defraying the cost of their relevant training. Signed, this Brevard County School Board. And while everybody's clapping, that's great. What I'd like to know is that the direction we want to take? I thought long and hard about where, you know, as you all know, I'm not one for just pointing a finger. I like to have a solution. So I wanted to offer a solution where that line item money could go to. I think that that is a good place for it that can affect the entire state. It isn't specific to a certain county. Certainly specifics of that and how it would happen would have to be generated. But I think it's something that we could probably get quite a few people behind if we did. Thoughts?
I like it. And, you know, I miss the, I mean, I look at what happened in this district when funding went away. I mean, we used to get a lot of teachers with national board certification. It's actually the one program that I hear is really missed, but, I mean, but it's very expensive. Teachers can't afford to do it anymore.
It is.
Anybody else?
I like that you have a request for how to use the money. Typically, if you push back on something, they'll say, well, just fine. If they really cared about solving this problem and supporting our teachers, they would think about the implementation. But I don't think when they make these decisions, it's about the actual intent or implementation. I think it's only about politics. Same thing when the legislature says they're giving school districts, they're giving so much more money to schools this particular year. No, they're not. you, the public, are. If you look at how the numbers are formulated, they adjust the millage, the school millage, on your assessed property value to make sure that they have that extra revenue to give back to us. So they're not really giving us anything. The public is giving it back by them playing with the numbers. It's all about votes and trying to make it look like they really care. If they really care, they would come down to school districts and speak to school board members and to superintendents and to teachers and ask them, how can we help you? But I don't think we've seen them in our district. And you think as a leading district in the state, they, especially with the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate around, they'd come down here and take note and ask questions and say, hey, how can we make the state and teaching better in the state? And they don't. So thank you for an alternative for that money. Hopefully that money will make its way to teachers one way or the other.
Okay. But I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I think it needs to go to more than Governor Scott because, as Mr. Ziegler said, it's actually the legislators who did this. This actually died in session in April. Wasn't supposed to come back. It died. That's why most of us quit, and I have been following legislation this year because of the assessment and accountability, so I know this died. It went away. But when they came back for financial reasons, that's when they snuck this in. And I agree, this makes absolutely no sense. This is not good for teachers. I'm all for giving teachers raises. I do think that they need to come up with a better way to do this than ACT scores or SAT scores from years ago, because that makes absolutely no sense. But I think it needs to go to the legislators as well, not only our district, which we need to be bringing up as part of our legislative priorities. From a Brevard perspective, we want to do that as well. I think that the people that wrote it, which is Friesen, I think, from Dade County, or someplace, was it Broward? No, it was Dade.
Dade.
But we need to let them know a part of it too. I'd like to hear what Dr. Blackburn thinks. I might reword some of it a little bit.
That's fine, but yeah.
But I do think that it needs to go to more than the governor, because he signed what he got. The people who actually instituted this was the legislature.
I agree, and before, sorry, Dr. Blackburn, but the reason I addressed it directly to him is because he does have the ability to line item it away as well. The legislature would have to go back in session in order to take it out. He actually has the capability of changing that. But we need to move it through the legislature as well, and there are various ways to do that. Enterprise Florida, Chamber of Commerce, we leverage this just as we stated, which is why I put in the last paragraph about economic development. We all know that that is a prerogative of the state, and anybody who's followed Enterprise Florida over the last couple of weeks knows that they are running out of money for their incentive programs. There's been a lot of pushback against by the governor and the legislature fighting about that. By tying this to economic development, it gives us an extra piece of people that we can address it to.
I think it's too late for a line item veto, isn't it, Judy?
Yeah, I know, but
Great comments, though, Mr. Craig, great comments. Sorry about the voice, but it is too late for a line item veto. However, you touched on something about when the legislature comes back in session, at least it would perhaps prompt the discussion as they're starting their committee meetings here in just a matter of a couple weeks.
Right.
Okay, Misty? Oh, Dr. Blackburn, sorry.
Essentially, the noun incentive, it should be turned into a verb that actually incentivizes, right? And this clearly doesn't. I don't think our teachers feel as though this is a bona fide incentive. And so if it's not serving its purpose, then we definitely should redirect it. And I agree with you, providing a potential solution along with our concern, hopefully goes a very, very long way.
Okay, thank you for bringing that. Okay, last board meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, Misty.
Thank you, Mr. Craig, for drafting the letter. I very much like the solution you've proposed. I think it makes perfect sense. Like the others, I would strongly encourage that we reach out to others, and most definitely reach out to our Brevard delegation and ask that they support this request moving forward. I will tell you that I have reached out since our last board meeting via telephone to some of our legislators here in Brevard, and was directed to speak to the one person at the Department of Education that is assisting teachers with this issue. And my response was, the Department of Education did not pass the budget. There is nothing that they can do. And so I think we really need to do, as I've referenced before, some educating with our local delegation, especially to help them to understand not only that this is not logistically possible for the majority of our teachers, but that it certainly is not providing the motivation that they think it's going to provide, and really I think is turning us backwards. So I support it. If there's anything that I can do to help get it out and get it to specific people, by all means, let me know.
Okay. Okay, board reports, we started down here last time, so Misty, we're going to start with you this time.
Let's see, we have some great stuff going on in the north end of the county with new principals placed and lots of positive energy. I spent a bit of my afternoon this afternoon with the Brevard Cultural Alliance looking at some of the programs that they're providing at our schools. Just revisiting those concepts again, and they're doing some great things, and I hope that we can continue to build that partnership and bring those very important programs to our students. Beyond that, nothing on the top of the head that I need to share this evening.
Andy?
The thing I have to report on is Friday was my first meeting with the Central Florida Congress of Regional Leaders in Orlando. And it's all about what we can do to encourage growth and economic development, things of that nature, working together with counties and cities and school boards. It's the first time all the school boards in those counties have been brought to the table. So that was nice. And during some of the conversation, I brought up a subject that I have approached with our EDC, and I spoke to Dr. Blackburn about this, and I think some board members is when they go out and they try to incentivize businesses to come to town, one of the biggest concerns is there a workforce to support the businesses when they come to town? And in some cases, if they're new industries, that's a challenge. So what I suggested is that they let all of these potential businesses know that the school districts in Central Florida are eager to partner with them on career programs for those industries if they're willing to step up to the plate and support us in doing so. In which case, if they do, then that's kind of like a hook that, all right, they're already working on a workforce, they might as well come to town. And everybody thought that was a great idea. For example, at the port, we have that company coming in, bringing freight containers to the port. That's a whole new industry where they need a specific type of talent. I'm not sure what type of talent, but I did speak to the operators of that company, and they're interested in that conversation. So I think there's a great way for us to provide more opportunities for our students by partnering with new industry.
Okay, Karen?
After this weekend, I can't remember what went on the last 2 weeks. So taking my daughter up to Rochester for school, so I'm a little tired and can't remember anything I did before then. But I will talk about legislative priorities that we as a district need to work on. Hopefully Dr. Blackburn and I are going to get together this week, if not early next week, to talk about it. You brought up a good point on what the legislature did, but one of the things that they do year after year after year is that they bring in these new laws and they make them implement, they finish up July 30th and they need to be implemented July 1. Which is hardly fair to any district. We need to find a way to get them, and I've been saying this since I've been on the board, to make it 1 year from the date, which gives us time to actually have these kinds of conversations with them before it actually gets implemented, and would allow us time to work with them in the next session to fine-tune it into a way that would be better for districts and whoever they're affecting, right? The other thing is, I think that Mr. Ziegler touched on it, is how the legislators should be working with, other districts. And one of the things that I'm proposing this year is that hopefully you guys will see the value of this, but the legislators, right now, they do things in their own little vacuum, and you're right, what they need to be doing is reaching out to districts. So it needs to be a committee of districts, but not just board members. It needs to be superintendents, it needs to be administrators, and when they bring up these kinds of law, if we had a committee that could help shoot holes in it or applaud it if it need be, then we could try to get these things fixed before they're actually implemented. And that's part of this whole problem with our legislature, the way it works in the state of Florida, is that they implement it and we're like, now we got to do it tomorrow? Are you kidding me? We never get a chance to talk about it. So I think there needs to be a mindset switch of how they do business, and maybe we can come up with a way to get some sort of a committee or advocate for something that has more input from districts, and that's what I'm looking to do this year.
Okay, John?
Well, that was really my board report, I guess, the letter. But I will say that I've been honored to attend a couple of receptions for Dr. Blackburn over the last week, and it is. I asked him if he was tired, his receptioned out yet. There's still a few more coming, but I got to tell you, you're just. What you're bringing to this community is sorely needed, and we thank you. And the things that are coming back from the community, from all across the community, are positive, but positive in a concrete way, of tangible things that you're bringing to this community. So I thank you for that. Meriden High School 50th reunion, 50th anniversary is this weekend. The big celebration, football game Saturday night. I think they play Heritage. Should be an awesome game. And then parade the next morning. I know there's a bunch of other parties that weekend. So I'll be at most of those things, but looking forward to that, especially now my son's a Mustang. He's very excited about that. And I think that's it.
The receptions, you stole what I was going to say, so I guess I don't even have to say that. Yeah, the receptions are going well, and I know you have more to come, so thank you for that. So I'm not going to add to that. I was going to say, no, sorry, we passed you. Yes, Mr. Ziegler.
Need a decision from the board on something. The Florida School Board Association is having a leadership training, so to say, and a FSBA board meeting the first week of September in Sarasota, I think, and we have our final budget hearing, so we are unable to attend. They are asking for us to fill out, for me, I guess, to fill out a proxy form to allow somebody to vote on our behalf, which, of course, if one of us could go in my place, we would do that. I have an issue with giving a proxy vote to somebody outside of these 5 board members, so I had Pam ask why it is so important that they're pursuing this proxy form, and they said it allows the district to vote during board of directors meetings. Well, if the director from the district has more than 2 unexcused absences, the president can declare a vacancy in that district. I don't think I've missed a meeting, and I believe having our own meeting is an excused absence. So I am inclined not to fill out a proxy form. I want to know if the board agrees with that.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd agree. The one that was up in Tallahassee, I said I proxied for you then, and so, yeah.
And given the issues they've been discussing, I don't want somebody else voting in our stead.
I would agree, and furthermore, I would say, do we not pay for membership in that organization,
Exactly.
and should they not understand that our district comes first?
Right.
Okay, thank you. Wanted to clarify that.
Just another reason why I've been unhappy with them. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Dr. Blackburn, do you have a report?
No, ma'am, no report.
Okay. Okay, just a reminder, we do have executive session following this meeting, so this meeting's now adjourned. Yeah, thank you, Karen. We would have done this before the meeting. Yeah, way to go, Karen. You couldn't get back.